I don't think that we need complex and intricate systems to be beautiful or to be great. What we need is something that we can share with other people, and being able to point to a spot in the code and go, hey, all you need to do is read this bit and you'll be fine.
Simon, welcome.
Thanks, Rick.
Welcome. I think you're our third guest on shorthanding, and it's where we get to learn about you. Thanks for joining us, and just tell us about what brought you to shorthand and what you did before you came to shorthand.
I was brought to Shorthand by a bunch of people that I already knew. So there are a handful of you that went to the same university as me, and we many, many, many years ago hung out in the same spots. And along the way, I don't know if I can say this, my wife joined Shorthand. And so I heard lots of good things about all of the people there and a bunch of names I already recognized. I got let in on the secret that there were a few couples here already. So I mean, it says well of a company that one person can bring the other person in. So I'd been with my previous job through COVID, and it was a great place. I was working for a company. Again, not sure if I could drop now. Worked for Topcon, who has their fingers in a lot of pies, but largely this was construction, and our team was doing. Was taking a piece of management and tracking software and bringing it into a cloud architecture. It was a great team, and the architecture was really interesting, and it kind of ticked all my boxes, except we got to the end of the project, and I think what I felt it was missing was longevity for me. I could see the writing on the wall regarding that inevitable product life cycle, and just wanted different things. And I felt that one of the things that was really missing was just people to talk to. Like everybody was switched on and proactive about things, but there was very little communication, person to person. And we went through COVID working from home, and I just became more and more attached to the personal side of engineering. When I heard about the opportunities at Shorthand and the people that I already knew a bit about,
And before TopCon, you were working in what was it, like something to do with geographical data or something like that?
So I ended up at a place called Radar Portal Systems, who were into road scanning, and I'm sure, as you know from your trip out to Dalby, the roads in Queensland have a lot of opportunity for maintenance. And so the core technology in that company was radar, ground penetrating radar, and cameras. And I wrote data processing software for them, where I took a lot of video and image data and sort of stitched it together and highlighted defects and features. And it was mostly, in some ways, I spent all of my career up until Shorthand doing C++ and Python stuff. And then Shorthand was like the window open and the breath of fresh air. I got to try different things for a while. And even before that, I worked for a games company for a little bit. Again, very, very heavy on the C++ side of things. And
Yep. Do you find that much of what you did in those jobs is like transferable into shorthand? Like you're working on any kind of like similar problems or challenges?
there are. I think one of the things that actually got me interested to moving to shorthand was I mentioned before that just being able to talk to people about their work and to absorb what was going on around me. Shorthand's much more of a melting pot than those other places. And while I don't find a lot of the stuff that I did previously is often directly related to what I'm doing now, I find that other people around me are often solving the same problems that got solved or that I worked on in the past.
Right.
To pick a thread through all of that stuff, working for a games company then resonated a lot with 3D imaging and image processing and the geometry of that in the real world, which led into TopCon, where there was also a lot of machine control related problems that involved geometry and imaging. And then in Shorthand, there's actually a lot of video and rendering problems that we tackle, particularly in the R&D side of things, which make for a really good conversation when I already know a little bit about it. So that's been
Yep.
really good.
Getting into like what you actually do here, day to day. Like what are you working on sort of day to day at Shorthand? I know you've had your hands full with the Shorthand for WordPress for a little while, but in a general sense, what are you doing at Shorthand? What's your role?
So I work for the platform team at Shorthand. I'm
Mhm.
probably besides our team lead, I think the longest serving engineer on that team. So the things that I put together are usually the longer living structures in
Mm.
our infrastructure that aren't literally just AWS infrastructure. I put together publishing life cycles and user account related authorization and authentication. I guess our business kind of grows and expands as people find their feet in communications roles. So we often have to look at what's driving those communication roles in industry. Who are they talking to? Why do they need to actually communicate with a document? What are their readers going to get out of it? How are they going to give feedback? And what's the life cycle of that communication rather than the life cycle of that web page? So we end up having to do a lot of integration with customers' existing systems and figure out how they really want to use shorthand in their role. And so I ended up doing a lot of that, lots of integration in the past. So yeah,
Any
I uh,
bespoke integrations?
I think the biggest drive at the moment is actually coming from AI. And
Mhm.
we're seeing a lot more of that kind of thing. And although there's a bunch of people already working on that at Shorthand in different capacities, I think we are about to see a lot more demand for better integration. We've kind of scratched the surface of this with where everybody's got their own MCP server. Everybody's frantically hooking things up, but what it doesn't really improve is how people living their daily jobs, how their roles are evolving, and yeah, in about 6 months, we're really going to see people frustrated with a single tool that does 10 times as much as it used to, and being unable to hand that off to somebody, or people being forced to read documents that are 10 times less concise than they used to be, or require 10 times as much information, and have to figure out some way to process that doesn't just involve feeding it to another AI driven task that's going to make a similar kind of output. No, yeah, so I am looking forward to the first clues about how that's going to work.
Cool. And in your domain, so like in the platform team, what does what does great look like for kind of like someone in your role?
Great.
Um, yeah.
Great is in the platform. Well, we don't have any of the flashiness of story
Mm,
and R&D. Great is really that we don't have to worry about it in 6 months' time.
mm,
That in 6 months' time, if we have to go and open the code up and make a change or read it, it just looks comfortable and recognizable. That it doesn't stand out terribly much. It doesn't make you want to go and ask somebody what was going on there or check out what you were doing when you committed it.
mhm,
That
mhm,
great is sensible. It's making sense of a large architecture, even on a small scale. Making, yeah, I guess that's always been something I've been making sense of the world has always been something that's kind of pushed me along. And so, from mathematics to engineering and to software and R&D, it was just trying to come up with new ways to explain things. And honestly, you, I don't think that we need complex and intricate systems to be beautiful or to be great. What we need is something that we can share with other people, and being able to point to a spot in the code and go, hey, all you need to do is read this bit and you'll be fine, and know that it's only going to take them 15 minutes to get their feed.
Yeah.
That's it.
I I know you've been doing a lot of code reviews lately.
Yeah.
And some of that, or maybe a lot of that code is written by AI.
Mm.
How has that changed things in the team, if at all? Well, I mean, I know it has changed things a lot, but um, has it been a benefit? Is it just shifting the work? How do you think about that?
I've certainly been thinking about it a lot more lately.
Mm.
There have been some truly enormous pieces of work delivered in the last 6 months, and I admire that. I think I admire that we've gone from not really being able to lean on AI in any capacity to really depending on it.
Mm.
And at the same time, like you say, it's a load that we didn't have to carry before. And I think this is what's driving me to predict better integrations and the need for better integrations in 6 months.
Mm.
That what we have here is a gearing mismatch between our previous roles and the forces on us now, being the forces being the need to review and guarantee quality and to move ahead. But I don't think it's all about trying to make things the way things were. So yeah, I think that given the code that I've seen and the features that we're shipping, they're worth it. The features are worth it, and so
Yeah.
can't let things crawl to a halt. We've got
Mm.
to, we have to find that middle ground, and
Yeah.
that's going to mean accepting that some code is going to be turned over in 6 months' time, and it means accepting that we have to keep things moving.
Yep.
I don't quite know how we do that yet. We seem to be making a good head of it, falling back on partitioning and being able to keep things running in parallel rather than doing deeper and tighter integration inside the code base.
Mm.
Doing yeah. Anyway, it's just I uh, I think it's a challenge, and I'm kind of glad to be in the industry in the challenge.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, it's certainly a dynamic and I think a really fun time. But I don't have
Mm.
to deal with the AI
Yeah.
generated code reviews. But like having said that, I know we've deployed like I don't know, we've got three or four different review tools now as well that
Hmm.
like do AI code reviews, which um, are oftentimes finding things
Mm.
that humans didn't. Finding problems in the code, and I think in the past, like a shortcoming of those, AI code generation has been just a lack of understanding of architecture. But
Hmm.
even there, I think the tools seem to be getting better and better. Um,
Yeah.
they get a better understanding of like a code base and what it does and how it's architected and how the architecture could be better and all of this stuff. There seems to be coming along at a rapid pace.
So fast.
Yeah.
I think it's it's interesting to flip the problem around. If
Mm.
somebody had come to us 2 years ago and said, "I have a tool that's going to find all the problems in your code base, and then you can fix them,"
Mm.
people wouldn't fix all the problems in their code base.
Yep.
They'd be like, "We're on a
Yeah.
schedule. We have stuff to
Mm.
do. We have existing timelines, and our resources are already busy. Like, how do
Yeah.
we maybe drip these things into our existing workflow a bit at a time?" But no, we can't do that. Now we have the opposite problem. Now we have something that's actually trying to fix our code base, and we're struggling to keep up with it.
Mm.
And yeah, it is exciting. It's a little bit terrifying. I think that the idea that we don't solve these problems is the thing that concerns me. That what we'll do is we will glue it together with more tools that we don't really appreciate or understand. So I
Mm.
I think like every other engineer at the moment, there's a chunk of my time that goes into looking at how I'm using AI and trying to come up with variations on it and new
Mm.
tools and
Yeah.
yeah,
Brave new world. Brave
it
new world.
is.
What have
Yeah.
you, so in doing those code reviews, what sorts of things have you like rejected? Like what have you filtered out that's like
Oh.
what the heck is this?
I so falling back on what I was saying before,
Mm.
I like simplicity.
Mm.
I like being able to point at something and go, "This is what it is. This it's obvious what it does." So I tend to be overly thorough with my code reviews, and it's something I'm working on because I think there have to be other ways to dealing with things than understanding every word on every line if we're going to keep up with what AI is promising.
Mm.
And I will reject things that. So I see a lot of duplicated code generated by AI, and not strictly duplicated, very slight differences. And so the problems that I have with that are largely about trying to explain it. If I had to
Mm.
explain why, if I looked at this code on its own, and then happened to find the other bit of code, and then had to explain to somebody why you would choose to use that one instead of that one, it's almost impossible without understanding the entirety of what the AI did. So right there, I can't approve that because I can't contain it in a small place and just say, look, that's something that's transient and it's going to be turned over in 6 months, and we should just use a tool to rewrite it for us because it has so many more implications than that. So I
Mm.
reject a lot of that. I've found that I don't reject a lot of UI. And that may come from my background as somebody who is really not a UX developer or a UI developer. It actually, in my mind, does a pretty straightforward job of building something that you can use,
Mm.
but it's it's got a loose idea of what constitutes simple and concise and sensible. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's it has a very loose following of the rules too. I think that's the other side of this. We have tools that we can configure in so many different ways with instructions that it reads and understands in the same way that it's acting, and we pour instructions into this. We have so many configuration files for different tools in different places, and at the end of the day, it doesn't actually follow all of them. Now, it does a best guess, best attempt, I guess, but there will be many trivial things in the code base that were prescribed in the instructions that it just returns as being totally fine.
Where do you think the team has raised the bar recently, if anywhere? What are we doing better right now than we were doing a year ago?
I think that we are talking about a lot of these issues a lot better. Uh, I think that where we've not really had to shoulder a lot of the problems that are involved in passing review and explaining design off to people. We had a lot of time on our hands to just let that kind of work itself out. So I think that those problems are more in the spotlight. I think we are doing a better job of getting contribution from everybody at this point. I think people felt specialized before, and I'm finding that people are across a lot more domains, whether it's back-end engineers doing more sort of full stack work, or or support engineers shipping more patches. I I think that we're seeing a lot more from the other teams as well that I don't personally have a hand in. The support teams, the success teams, and sales teams using more tools that sort of feed back into engineering. But I feel like we're looking further ahead and trying to build more for that further ahead. So
Yep. I don't think we have a choice in that, to be
No,
honest.
I
Like,
don't
just
think so
because,
either.
anything we're building now for like, 6 months down the track is probably going to be,
Mm,
obsolete, or the way that we're building it. To your point, having to be okay with, throwing out code or
mm,
whatever 6 months from now, So let's say we've got a feature. Let's take the WordPress thing, for
mm,
example. I remember, I think that the key thing that we were trying to accomplish, like the key design goal, was this thing has to feel like it's in WordPress, right? Like you're not
mm,
leaving WordPress. You're there. You're in your existing workflow, and magic. You can create a shorthand story
mm,
right within WordPress, and then when you dig down on that, like the technical challenge of making that possible came down to, how does the authentication work?
mm,
Can we actually like embed the editor right within WordPress, or do we have to kind of like fake it by opening the editor,
mm,
on the shorthand domain? So it's interesting. Like for me, it was interesting how you come from a with a very like UX focused goal, and then ultimately though there's a bunch of technical challenges that you have to solve in order to make it feel
mm.
like you want to make it feel, for a user using this thing, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of like the best, like clearest examples of of that kind of situation, where the technical problems are almost like the UX. You've got to solve the technical problems to make the
Mm.
UX the way that you want it.
I think we're
Yeah,
lucky a lot of the cases that
yeah.
the features that we want are often just UX driven. That there's basically no limit to what you can do in a user interface, and how you can string them together to get an overall experience. And I think this was the one of the first tasks at Shorthand that I'd come across where we were genuinely constrained by the technology, and that is something that honestly came up many times in Shorthand for WordPress. And I guess I'm hesitant to talk about it because it's so uncharacteristic of like how things work at Shorthand, where we have full control of our environment, and at different times we had to, like you say, we had to choose an authentication scheme. We found it difficult to publish stories in WordPress in the way that we wanted, and conform to WordPress's ideals about how you should present web pages in WordPress, and what kinds of precautions that you take with that. And so we had a lot of obstacles there that we had to work through. There are, I think it was good to have a sort of clear signposts for ourselves about design. Like you said, we wanted to make it very WordPressy. We wanted it to feel like they were in WordPress and that they didn't have to get out of WordPress and jump through a lot of hoops to bring stories from Shorthand to WordPress. And so that simplified a lot of choices. I mean, we didn't have to come up with new things in WordPress. We could use a lot of existing WordPress technologies. We use existing WordPress um, user accounts. We use existing WordPress terminology and tools. It's worked out pretty well in the long run. And I think it's timely too, because we've hit a point now where we're really looking to everybody developing software is really looking to expose their software to other pieces of software. I mean, the way that AI works these days, you have to make your software interoperable in like a core way. And it was good to kind of have been thinking about that before we got to that point this year in the context of WordPress and Shorthand doing the same thing.
One of the interesting things right now is like, WordPress 7.0 is
Mm.
dropping, and it's like the biggest change to WordPress
Yeah,
in years
it's
and
always
years,
the
right?
biggest change. Yeah.
And some of the things they're rolling out there are stuff that like we recently built into Shorthand. So there's like a AI kind of built in, or they've made it easy to leverage different models from
Mm.
within WordPress. They didn't quite manage to ship the real-time collaboration.
Ah,
So that's still something
yeah.
that that you get in Shorthand, and I think you get that in Shorthand for WordPress as well, don't you?
Yes, you
Like,
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's that's one nice feature that you get on top of having the really rich format. You can like collaborate with your peers in real time there. But yeah, just going to be interesting to see how WordPress users and designers and whatever kind of what they'll how they'll leverage the AI functionality in
Mm.
WordPress 7.0. Yeah, again, brave new world. We seem to have spent so long in this convo talking about AI, but that is one of the things that that you get in Shorthand for WordPress that until a few days ago was not something that you could have in WordPress proper.
No.
Yeah. So, what do you think? We've talked a little bit about Shorthand for WordPress and development challenges. What's next for Shorthand for WordPress? Do you think? Like, if it were up to you, which
Um,
it in part is,
in part it is, yeah.
what are the next things we're going to be building for that product?
I want to, specifically for Shorthand for WordPress, I want Shorthand to be more visible in somebody's WordPress site.
Mm.
We treat the stories that people publish in WordPress as a custom post type, as its own equivalent to a page or something, and it's there are more opportunities in WordPress to make that available to people's existing themes and templates, and to surface them in different parts of the site, to grab chunks of a story and have it visible in just one part of another page.
Yeah.
Better
So like
search results
making
integration.
Gutenberg blocks or something out of
Yeah.
shorthand section types.
Or,
Yeah.
or at least like excerpts, rich excerpts, in the same way that you have sort of iframely type integration in
Mhm.
yeah, iframely type integration in other contexts, and the reverse is kind of true. Like, there is a WordPress has sort of rich REST API functionality. Like, they can basically expose large parts of a site to people who are authorized externally, and being able to better connect shorthand stories to other parts of the site from the shorthand editor, to connect it to existing media. Yeah, just trying to make shorthand stories fit into WordPress and make the experience more a WordPress experience.
Mm.
So that's where I see it going.
Yep. Yeah, I think
Uh,
that's right. Yeah, totally. I think there's it, we've made a really good start, and I think you can now really easily create a
yeah,
beautiful editorial grade visual story in directly in WordPress that you maybe could have done before, but it's a lot more complicated if you're using the sort of the built-in tools that you have in WordPress. Or you're going to need to, rely on a developer to do some custom code and all of that. So, yeah, so I mean, all the reasons people come to Shorthand in the first place, all the news media orgs and whatnot. If you happen to
yeah,
be using WordPress, you can now do all of that right within WordPress, which I think is the main benefit. But there's certainly a long way still to go with like
yeah.
additional things that we can do.
I think WordPress has a reputation of making everybody a publisher, right? And I think there's a subtler part of that where everybody in WordPress is kind of feels kind of like a developer or a web admin. And like, if there's one thing that I know we're going back to AI again. There's one thing that AI is doing. It's making people feel like they're more capable of doing other roles. Like,
Mm.
you look at how easy it is for I mean, if you go on Reddit these days, you will be swamped with ads of people who are building apps from some other job because they have AI tools these days. And I guess I'm waiting to see how that happens in WordPress now that you have you are well, not yet, but like soon to have AI companion type tools in WordPress. Everybody's accustomed to going into the theme editor in WordPress or the plugin editor and just hacking away at something. It's like, well, what are you going to be able to do with the AI companion? And how can shorthand stories in WordPress become like more accessible, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Interesting. So what are we either, in the WordPress context or in shorthand in general, specifically in the platform, on the platform side of things, what are we deliberately not thinking about building? Like there's so much we could be doing, right? And like what are we not doing? What have we excluded?
oh, that is a tougher question because I spend almost all my time thinking about the stuff that I'm hoping we do soon. Um, what are we not doing? You know what? You might have to wipe that question because
Yeah, no.
I can think
Yeah.
of tons of enterprise type integration that we want
Yeah.
to improve on. I can
Yeah.
think of improvements to user and permissions management that we want to do.
Mhm.
I can think of different CMS type integrations we want to do, but I think
Yeah.
like honestly, the world is our oyster at the moment,
Yeah.
and it's only getting easier to make sweeping
Mhm.
changes. So
Yeah. I think that's probably where I was thinking is, up until very recently, we're thinking about integrations in terms of having to build specific integrations for different either data sources or publishing destinations, right?
yeah, like small
And
scale things, but
yeah,
is that yeah?
but I feel like that's changing a little bit with, MCP and whatever
Mm.
else. In that, to your point, it's getting much easier to do, and so in some circumstances, you don't have to think about like a specific integration with a specific tool. You can kind of just like integrate, especially on the data sources side of things. Like pulling in data is now really easy to do. It's really just a case of like, from a privacy security point of view, like, do you want to expose this data to this particular tool?
Yeah.
But actually doing it now is quite trivial. And so I think that's changed in terms of like, in the past, maybe we were like thinking, oh, we need to do a specific site core integration or
Yeah,
something,
or
right? And it's like, how does that change now in the world of AI and MCP and whatever? Uh,
I think
you
the
know,
answer is really
yeah,
it's not that we it changes that it's not that our desire to do it changes. It's
mm,
that the amount of effort we're willing to expend on it changes. We
yes,
go from saying it's going to take this much of our year to
mm,
do this
yeah,
sort of thing, and now we say, well, actually, we should really be doing it in this much of the year,
yeah,
and that really it changes the value proposition on all of those things.
mm,
But at the same time, you don't want to overcommit even a tenth of your year to doing something that could be done in a general way if you're not going
mm,
to really care about that tenth significantly in a year. Like
yep,
that's
yeah,
if there was some
totally,
CMS package that we spent June and July integrating with that was going to become irrelevant in
yeah,
a year's time, then what's even the point of doing that when we could build a better MCP server that could
yeah,
expose those things? So I mean
yeah,
that's the challenge, trying to think ahead and build
mm,
just generally enough, while at the same time just letting the tooling build smaller features for us,
mm,
or features that would have been big features but are now much more accessible to us in the
yep,
background.
mm, yep. Cool. Well, before we wrap up, what does Simon spend time doing outside of work? You're obviously a dad,
Yeah.
and yeah, what? What do you do? What do you do outside of shorthand?
I've hit that stride in family where that is actually a full-time second job. But ideally, during the term times, there were always board games, and we had a regular board game crew. And then when the holidays come up, we tend to go just book time away with friends, and we'll go on cycling holidays and go to the beach. I think at the moment, oh, actually, I guess the third thing is the house building, but that's ephemeral, and that's not something I hope to be doing. That's something I hope to be done with.
Well, hey, thank you so much for the time. Thanks for the chat.
My pleasure, Rick.
Cool. Awesome. Over and out. Ciao for
Cheers.
now.